Hey, the internet, y'all got us all the way up, man. We met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was gambling.
A rapper denies any involvement in the murder of a jeweler in Houston, Texas, after he saw the man shortly before he was killed. I'm Angenette Levy, and welcome to Law&Crime Sidebar podcast. Boosie Badazz was in Houston over the Labor Day holiday weekend, and on Sunday evening of that weekend, a man named Duke the Jeweler was shot and killed just before midnight. TMZ is reporting that two men got out of a GMC truck, walked up to Duke the Jeweler, fired shots at him, and then took off. Meanwhile, Boosie Badazz says that he basically was walking away, walking to his car when he heard the shots off in the distance. Joining me to talk about this is entertainment lawyer Jonathan Handel. Jonathan, welcome back to Sidebar. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Jonathan, it's a really unfortunate incident that Boosie Badazz saw this man, Duke the Jeweler, right before he was shot and killed, and then, was leaving the area, he says, when this happened. And it's really unfortunate as well, because Boosie says that people on the internet are attacking him and saying that he had something to do with this, that he was responsible for Duke's murder, and he's really upset about it. What is your reaction to what Boosie had to say?
Well, I think his reaction is completely understandable. I mean, we are just in this unfortunate, the unfortunate downside of the internet that, as you say, any random comment has the potential to get multiplied and, and repeated and multiplied over and over again to the point where people assume that, they assume that that's what constitutes smoke and that therefore there must be fire. It's really, we've seen this in the political realm, in terms of election deniers and things of that sort, and the birtherism about Obama a number of years ago, and on and on. And we're seeing this here. I mean, Boosie, it's important to note, as far as I know, no police official has even hinted that he might be, in some way involved, or the subject or target or anything of an investigation. And so it's highly unfair for someone to be subjected to this by the internet.
Right. And unfortunately, this is the world we're living in right now, where these internet rumors spread like wildfire. And once they start spreading, you really can't stamp them out. And it's as if they become truth in some circles. And it just keeps going and going and going. And really, one of the things that's pretty crazy about this as well was that Duke the Jeweler has a photograph of himself with Boosie on Instagram. And it seems like this is one of the last photographs that was ever taken of Duke the Jeweler, and he happened to be with Boosie. And this all happened, I guess, after a dice game where Boosie had been there, Duke the Jeweler had been there. Duke had won apparently a significant amount of money. And these dice games, I can tell you from covering local news that these dice games can be very dangerous. They can be targets for robberies. You mix in alcohol and drugs and things like that. And a lot of money can be changing hands. So these are really things that police look out for with these dice games in inner city neighborhoods.
Well, understandably. And, if Duke the Jeweler was apparently carrying significant cash, and I think perhaps jewelry as well, those are the sort of things that make people potentially targets for robbery. It's in that sense a dangerous profession, a dangerous job, and but again, to the internet, trollers are rolling the dice and suggesting that Boosie has some connection to this. And, if there is ultimately some connection, we'll hear about it from law enforcement. But to just jump in and jump to that assumption, jump to that conclusion, it's a dreadful thing. I mean, the internet allows everyone to speak their mind. Everyone can be a creator. Everyone can be a distributor, a broadcaster. Everyone has, people can get together with people of like minds about things. And, those are the good things about the internet and the bad things about the internet, and we see the downside in this example.
And Boosie was really upset about this. Let's take a look at a little bit more of the Instagram video he put up on social media. He wanted to deny any involvement in this, and you can see that he's really upset. So let's look at that, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Jeweler, the night before, we was gambling. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to rob him and killed the dude. What the hell my 19-year-old cousin gonna try to rob and kill somebody? Bro, we getting money, man.
So, Jonathan, as you see, Boosie says he saw Duke the jeweler shortly before this happened. He denies that he and his cousin had anything to do with this. And he was pretty upset and distraught, as you could imagine anybody would be after somebody you were just with was killed. And you get these internet trolls on their keyboards. They're the keyboard warriors sitting around spreading rumors. And it's really, really unfortunate.
It's really a no-win situation. I mean, just the fact that it attracts media attention, the fact that we're talking about it is going to, there'll be a certain subset of people will say, oh, see, look, they're associate his name with this, with this murder, this killing. It's, it's everyone who's into playing, chess now can get together with people who play chess around the world. Everyone who's into, being a terrorist can get together with terrorists around the world. I mean, it's, there's this sort of tech ethos that says, well, we're just connecting the world. We're just allowing people to speak. We're allowing people to create new connections. And, all of that's true. I just started collaborating with a composer in London, for example, over Zoom. Would never have happened without tech platforms. But by the same token, the same platforms allow people to, perpetuate rumors without basis. And I guess what I would urge people, listening to this is that there really is a need for more media literacy, for more critical thinking. Just because it's a pixel and it glows does not necessarily mean it's true. And you really need to sit there and assess. And there's all this, skepticism that people like to push the mainstream media. Oh, well, they're in everyone's pocket, blah, blah, blah. The mainstream media and media outlets are edited and restrained and in general, care about truth. And you need to sort of stop and say, okay, what's the reliability of this source, of this tweet, of this posting before I repost or reply or retweet it?
And it just seems like these things get worse and worse. And, this kind of spiraled out of control. And, I guess Duke the jeweler had been to Boosie's concert at one point in time. So these are two people who obviously knew one another. But to, be with somebody and then have them ambushed later as they're walking away from you. I mean, Boosie said that he actually heard the gunshots, which I'm assuming would be very traumatic, knowing that you heard the gunshots that led to somebody being murdered.
I think it'd be traumatic hearing gunshots, period. And right. And certainly, and I believe what he said on one of the videos was that Boosie was walking to his car and Duke was walking to his SUV, and that's where this went down. And yes, that at that point he saw people and heard the gunshots. It's just again, a highly unfortunate reaction from folks on the internet.
Yeah, and this could, this might hurt his career. I don't know. I mean, internet trolls are one thing, the truth is another. But lies can be very damaging to somebody in any profession.
Well, that's right. That's right. I mean, this is, the profile, especially someone who's, who is high profile, who's an entertainer, the goodwill of fans, the reputation, the goodwill from in this case, music, entertainment execs and specifically music execs. It all kind of is intertwined. And, so I again would urge people to simply, simply dismiss this. If there ever turns out to be, some question mark, law enforcement is presumably doing its job and will raise those question marks. But, for that simply to be raised by internet trolls is, you might as well just be saying, well, gee, I think the moon is made of green cheese, and let's start a rumor.
Most definitely. Well, Jonathan Handel, entertainment attorney, thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
And that's it for this edition of Law and Crime Sidebar podcast. It is produced by Sam Goldberg, Michael Deininger, and Logan Harris. Bobby Szoke is our YouTube manager. Alyssa Fisher handles our bookings, and Kiara Bronson does our social media. You can download and listen to Sidebar on Apple, Spotify, Google, and wherever else you get your podcasts. You can also watch it each day on Law and Crime's YouTube channel. I'm Angenette Levy, and we will see you next time.